In this video, I'll go through how I handle warming up for HEMA training. More specifically, I teach and train longsword, but this will work just fine for any other weapon, especially as only 2 out of the 4 actually use a sword. I think that it's important to note that I am not a personal trainer. I am a longsword instructor and I also do weight training. I have years of experience in both of those. The warm-up material here is based on my own research from multiple sources over multiple years. Some of this I have been taught by people who have been trained in and are qualified to teach warming up for physical activities. My interest in warming up has simply been to support my sports activities, be it weight training or HEMA. I am not claiming to be an expert on the subject. With that out of the way, let's get to the actual warming up material. As this is specifically warming up for HEMA practice, this is designed to fit into a class of 90 minutes. 90 minutes because that is the length of a longsword class at EHMS, that being the club where I teach and train at. With that 90-minute class in mind, the warming up portion of the class should take at maximum 15 minutes. That time can then be broken down to 2 main requirements: cardio and specific warm-up exercises for those areas which need it. 5 to 10 minutes of steady-state cardio is useful for pretty much any physical activity you might do. As we are restricted by the length of our class, 5 minutes will do. The goal of the cardio is to get your body generally warmed up and your pulse slightly elevated. You should start to sweat a bit and get slightly out of breath. My rule of thumb is that you should still be able to hold a conversation without a problem. If you are going to have high intensity training, it can be useful that during the warm-up you peak your pulse up to close to what it will be during the actual activity. And I do say peak. Do not maintain high pulse, as this is supposed to be warm-up and not exercise on its own. After that, you want to target those muscles and joints that will be used during the training. For HEMA, I tend to pay close attention to my shoulders, elbows and wrists, as those get a lot of movement and are prone to injury. After that come the core and other supporting muscles. I personally don't like to use a sword for warming up. I find other movements more efficient for warming up, and warming up is what we are trying to do here. I understand that some people want to spend the whole training session with a training weapon, as that is what they are there to do. It can also make warming up more fun. As such, I have included one training routine which only uses fencing drills. In addition to me finding other movements more useful for warming up, I don't want to teach people bad habits with a training weapon. It is easy to modify something like a basic cut to be more suitable for warming up, but that can then teach the trainees to use those modified versions when actually fencing. Muscle memory is a funny thing. But again, this is my personal opinion, so feel free to warm up using your training weapon if you want to. The important thing here is to warm up and not skip it. Then the last few things before we get into the 4 warm-up routines. Firstly, I'll start by showing you the whole warm-up routine. Then I'll show you some substitutions for some of the movements in the routine. They can be easier or harder variations of the same movement, or different movements altogether. This allows people of different fitness levels to still effectively warm up. It also allows people to substitute the movement for something else if they can do the original movement because of an injury or some other reason. From that we get to the most important point. If anything hurts, don't do it. Just replace the movement with something else. The point is to warm up, not to injure yourself. The last thing is that you should do the warm-up at your own pace. This allows everyone to warm up according to their fitness level. A seasoned CrossFit athlete has rather different requirements for warming up when compared to someone who has just shown up for the first sports class in their whole life. As such, everything should be based on duration, not on rep count or intensity. Also, one good quality repetition is better than 10 bad ones. Take your time and perform the activities correctly. You are trying to warm up, not beat your push-up record. This is the warm-up routine I currently use when teaching longsword classes. As I already mentioned, I don't like to use a sword when warming up, and as such, this has no longsword specific movements. Because of that, this should be suitable for pretty much anything. The routine usually takes 15 minutes with an average sized class of 10 to 15 participants. With a smaller class of 5 to 6 people, it takes a less bit time as there is less rest time between the animal walks. This also makes it a bit more demanding. Instead of time, I use distance to measure the animal walks. This is because the long side of our sail happens to be roughly 28 meters, and that works just fine for the animal walks. You can naturally do all the animal walks in a smaller space by simply going back and forth. You can also do this by allocating a specific time for the animal walks. Just remember to have a short rest period between the different walks, use something like 30 seconds. Now, let's start with the actual warm-up routine. I start off with a 5-minute jog. I simply get everyone jogging around the sail at their own pace. And it is important that everyone can jog at their own pace. If walking for 5 minutes gets you warmed up, then walk. If you regularly run a 5k, you probably need to go a bit faster. I like to change the running direction once a minute as the sail is rather long but narrow. At least my knees thank for a change in the direction of the rather steep curves at the end of the sail. After the cardio, it is time to warm up the shoulders and the wrists. This also gives people time to catch their breath. For the shoulders, I do arm rotations. The palm should always be pointing to the direction of the rotation. When you get to the limit of your range of motion, try to stretch the arm a bit further. Then rotate the arm so that the palm can once again point to the direction of the rotation and continue. Have the rotation in control at all times. Don't just let your arm fall down. Also, keep it as close to a perfect circle as possible. Don't let the arm flare out to the side. Do this for both arms and to both directions. I found that 10 controlled rotation per arm per direction works fine. After the shoulders, move on to the wrists. I have taken this from a video by Taiketo Fitness. The link to that video is in the description. First start with your arms completely straight in front of you. Have your elbows locked out. This is important. Point your thumbs in and palms down. Now, point your fingers down and pull your palms toward your chest. It is important that you try to continuously pull your palms toward your chest. Now, slowly close and open your hands 10 times. Do not let your wrist straighten and try to squeeze your hands to as tight of a fist as you can. After 10 repetitions, point your fingers up, now pulling the backs of your hands towards your face. Repeat the 10 squeezes. After that, rotate your hands outwards so that your pinkies turn towards each other and your fingers point down. Try to rotate your pinkies towards each other and try to pull the backs of your hands towards your chest. Repeat the 10 squeezes. After those 10, point your fingers up so that your palms are towards your face. Try to rotate your thumbs outwards and pull your palms towards your face. Repeat the 10 squeezes. Now, bend your elbows and bring your hands close to your chest. Point your palms towards the ground. Try to pull your palms towards your forearms and repeat the 10 squeezes. Now turn your hands so that your palms point up. Try to pull the backs of your hands towards your biceps and repeat the 10 squeezes. Lastly, straighten your arms and make as tight of a fist as you can. Now rotate your wrists around in different directions so that you can feel the stretch. Now we move to animal walks. I've found animal walks to be great full body movements which require you to use your stabilizing muscles. Specifically, most of the walks I use stress your shoulders and core, but they are very much full body movements. As such, they are great for warming up for HEMA practice. That being said, let's start with a leg movement. I call this the Zoidberg. Start in a bit wider than shoulder width stance and crouch down. You want to keep your back straight. Think of this as sitting down. If your back starts to bend, don't go any lower. You want to do this with both sides leading. I do this for the length of our saddle for each side. Do it first one side forwards, then jog back to the start and repeat with the other side forwards. As said, if you need to work with a smaller space, just go back and forth in the space you have. After both sides are done, I wait for everyone to finish before moving to the next exercise. This gives people some time to catch their breath, as the ones going first have time before the last ones finish, and the last ones have some time to wait for the first ones to move out of the way with the next exercise. I call the next movement the gorilla. Start in a shoulder width stance and crouch down. You can let your back round. Place your hands on the ground so that they are to the side you will be moving to. Now you want to do a small sideways hop while supporting your weight on your arms. You want to think about pushing your hands to the ground and your shoulders forwards. Your goal is to move your feet to the other side of your hands. If possible, both of your feet should pass both of your hands. However, don't stress too much about that. You can make the hop as small as you need to. Repeat this for both sides. Once again, I have everyone go the whole length of the saddle one side forwards, then jump back to the start and repeat with the other side forwards. Next is the inchworm. To get into the starting position, stand with your feet next to each other and then place your hands to the ground in front of you. Now, try to straighten your legs and get your butt up as high as you can. You should feel a slight stretch at the back of your legs. From there, walk your hands forwards as far as you can. Try to get yourself at least to a plank position. This means that your legs and back are straight and your hands are under your shoulders. If you can, walk your hands further forwards. Now imagine rotating your elbows in and pulling your hands towards your feet. Then you want to get yourself back to the starting position. Either walk your feet back in or you can do small hops. Either way, imagine pulling your hands towards your feet so you get your lats activated. Then repeat. I have this done with the next movement so that the inchworm is done for half the length of the saddle and the next movement for the rest of the way. The last movement is the grab. Sit down on the floor with your back to the direction you are moving to. Place your hands on the ground behind you. I like to have my fingers pointing to the direction I'm moving. Have your arms straight but don't lock your elbows. Now, raise your butt off the floor. Imagine pressing down your shoulders. As long as you can get your butt off the ground, it is enough, but the higher you can get your hips, the better. Now, walk to the direction your head is pointing to. As said, I do this in combination with the previous movement, so that this is done for half the length of the cell. Now to some modifications and replacement movements. Especially the animal walks can be painful to those with wrist injuries. As said, if it hurts, don't do it. Let's start with some modifications for the jog. If you want, you can mix in different jogging styles throughout the 5 minutes. The ones I am familiar with are side steps, crossing steps, and jogging backwards. Then an easier replacement for the gorilla. Simply try to get to a pike position. This is basically the starting position for the inchworm, and it loads your shoulders as does the gorilla. It is not an exact replacement, but it is a good exercise in general. If you have wrist problems, this can be done on your fists instead of open hands. Next we have a more demanding version of the gorilla. You simply want to get your feet higher and have a bit more airtime. This loads your shoulders and core more. Don't try to do a cartwheel. Instead, start with your feet and hands on the ground and then kick up from there. Then we have a lighter replacement for the inchworm. Simply get to a plank position and hold that as long as you can with a maximum of 30 seconds or so. You can also do this with your knees on the ground to make it even lighter. Once again, if you have wrist issues, you can do this on your fists or on your elbows. Lastly, a lighter replacement for the crab walk. Simply get to the starting position and try to lift your butt off the ground and hold it as long as possible. This is generally easier the closer your hands and feet are to each other. Once again, try to lift your butt off the ground as much as you can, but don't worry about it. As long as you feel your back activating, you are doing just fine. If you have shoulder or wrist issues, you can also do the bridge so that your shoulders are on the ground. Naturally, this doesn't activate your shoulders and upper back in a similar manner, but it mimics the move in every other manner. This is the warm-up routine I use for the weekly class that I run. It is most definitely not the lightest one, but it offers lighter substitutions for the movements for those who need them. It will most definitely get you warmed up, and it will give your supporting muscles a light workout at the same time. This is a warm-up routine I would use at a beginner's course or at an event where the attendees don't have any previous fencing experience. As such, it doesn't have any fencing drills, as I presume that the attendees don't know any. It also uses basic bodyweight exercises, as they don't need much explaining. This makes it possible to keep the warm-up down to roughly 10 minutes, leaving more time for the actual class. These very basic exercises are also a good fit for people who have very little to no sports background. HEMA seems to bring in people from seasoned martial artists to those who have basically no sports experience. These exercises are a rather good place to start teaching people basic fitness. I don't have any specific durations for these exercises. Instead, I keep an eye on the participants and see how tired they get. I then add in short rest periods as I see needed. What I aim for is to keep the warm-up under 10 minutes. The important thing is not to set any repetition targets. Just let people do the exercises at their own pace. Start with cross jumps and skiers. I mix these together, switching from one to another when I feel like it. With the cross jumps I do both the basic and the rotation versions. Next are simple bodyweight squats. The main points here are to have a wider than shoulder width stance and keeping the back straight. Go as deep as you can while not letting your back round. Don't worry about where your toes should point. They can be straight forwards or angled outwards. Have them where it feels the most natural to you. Next we have push-ups. The special thing here is that we do a variation in which you lift your hands off the ground when you get to the bottom. This does two things. One, you can't bounce up, making the exercise more demanding, but also more consistent. Two, it works as a mobility drill for the shoulders. The thing to concentrate on is to have your elbows in a neutral position. Don't pull them to your sides and don't let them flare out. The final exercise is crunches. Lie on your back with your feet on the ground. Your goal is to simply lift your shoulder blades off the ground while keeping your lower back on the ground. You don't want to actually sit up. If possible, have a short hold at the end position of the movement before going back down. Also, don't pull on your head with your hands. Your hands should rest on your chest or on your shoulders. Then we have some modifications for these movements. First we have a more demanding variation for the squat. You can do jump squats to make the movement more explosive. The important thing is to not have your knees locked when landing. The next variation is a lighter version for a push-up. Simply do the push-up exactly as you would do a normal push-up, but have your knees on the ground. We have an even lighter version for a push-up, as push-ups can be difficult to do. For negative push-ups, get to the starting position for a push-up. Then slowly lower to the bottom position. From there, return to the start position without actually pushing yourself up. The easiest way is to shift your weight back to get your arms straight and then return to the starting position. I recommend that you do this as the on your toes version, but if that is too demanding, you can also do this on your knees. That was a very simple warm-up routine which can be done by pretty much anyone. It has a lot of wiggle room for people of different fitness levels. It also requires no fencing knowledge whatsoever. Next, we have a basic course warm-up routine which also has fencing drills. This is well suited for situations in which you want to get some basic exercises into the warm-up time. The important thing here is that the fencing drills are actually good fencing drills, which also happen to work well for warming up. For this, I would generally make sure that the first two exercises combined last at least 5 minutes, as they are the cardio portion of the warm-up. Then I fill the remaining 5 to 10 minutes of the warm-up with the remaining exercises as I see fit. Sometimes I want more footwork drills, sometimes more thrusting and winding, sometimes more basic cuts, and sometimes I just want to keep the warm-up as short as possible. Once again, start with cross jumps. As with the previous routine, you can mix in the cross jumps with rotations and the skiers. The knee elbow tag is a nice drill which combines footwork and distance management. It also teaches the basics of reading your opponent and feinting. The target areas are the upper arm and the shoulder and the thigh. Make sure that you keep your fingers together. This way your fingers don't accidentally get caught somewhere, as that can cause an injury. I recommend that this is done as sets of 2 or 4 exchanges. Have an exchange with one foot forwards. On a valid touch, change the leading leg. Repeat twice or 4 times. After that, change pairs and repeat as many times as you wish. The thrusts are a nice way to teach winding actions and also warm up the shoulders. Simply start in a high point-in-line guard on your dominant side. Thrust by first extending your arms. Then take a passing step and simultaneously wind so that your sword ends up in the correct quadrant for the next thrust. Finally return to the next guard position. The order of the thrust is the following. A thrust from a high point-in-line guard on the dominant side. A thrust from a low point-in-line guard on the non-dominant side. A thrust from a low point-in-line guard on the dominant side. A thrust from a high point-in-line guard on the non-dominant side. You can repeat these 4 thrusts in this sequence indefinitely. Simply return to the first guard in the sequence after the last thrust. You can do this drill by either moving forwards with each passing step, or by taking every other step forwards and every other backwards. The latter allows you to do this exercise in a smaller space. The final exercise is full basic cuts according to the Myers square. The sequence is the same as for the previous exercise. Cut a full descending cut from the dominant side. Cut a full ascending cut from the non-dominant side. Cut a full ascending cut from the dominant side. Cut a full descending cut from the non-dominant side. This exercise can also be repeated indefinitely. You can also do this in place by alternating forwards and backwards steps, or simply take passing steps forwards. If you happen to know the full Myers square sequence, you can use it for this and the previous exercise. I've just come to the conclusion that teaching the first 4 moves is enough for most purposes. The important thing here is to do proper full-length cuts. And that was a very simple and short warm-up routine which incorporates fencing drills. It can be very useful during a basic course if you want to get W's out of your warm-up time. The last routine consists solely of fencing drills. This can be a great way to warm up with someone who already has fencing experience. This can also make warming up fun if you don't happen to like animal walks or bodyweight exercises. As with the previous routine, I make sure that the first 2 exercises combined take at least 5 minutes. I then allocate the remaining time for the remaining exercises as I see fit. The first exercise is follow the leader. It is a simple footwork drill in which the leader can move freely back and forth. The other person tries to maintain a constant distance by taking advancing and gathering steps. In this example, both fencers are in a low point-in-line guard so that the points of their swords are close to each other. This makes it easy to notice if the distance changes. Naturally, this can also be done without swords. You can make this exercise more demanding by allowing the leader to take passing steps or by not forcing them to be in a fencing stance. You can also allow circling steps if you want. The next exercise is the knee elbow tag, which was already explained in the previous warm-up routine. Please refer to that for a more detailed explanation. Then we have the winding Myers square drill, which was also explained in the previous routine. The last drill is the Myers square with a partner. For a more detailed explanation on the cutting pattern, please refer to the previous routine. In this routine, the cuts are done with a partner. One attacks, the other parries. Make the cuts with a passing step. The parrying trainee takes passing steps backwards. This can be done to a single direction for a specific distance, or you can switch the attacker and thus the direction after the 4 cuts. It can also be made even more difficult by allowing the attacker to stop attacking at any point of the square. Then the defender must return with a riposte and start their own Myers sequence. This adds an element of reading your opponent to the drill and teaches more difficult fencing principles. If there is not enough space, this can be done so that the parrying trainee stands still and the attacker takes sideways steps. You can also substitute this drill with the Myers square without a partner. And that was the last of the warm-up routines. This one can be more fun for the participants, but it has some requirement for fencing skills. Before we get to the recap, go and stab that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. The most important thing is to warm up before training. Do not skip warming up. Exercises which allow the participants to tune the intensity to their fitness level are a good idea. You should start with 5 to 10 minutes of steady state cardio. Then follow up with targeted exercises to those joints and muscles which get used the most. I recommend that you pay attention to your shoulders, elbows, and wrists, as those are the most prone to injury. Targeting your core and supporting muscles in general is a very good idea.